So this is my absolute favorite Hasidic story, and it involves Rabbi Elimelech, the namesake of our yeshiva. Um, so I'm not sure when I first heard it, but Chabad has a whole spiel about how Jewish stories, especially from Hasidic masters, have to be absolutely accurate and exactly the person that was involved and the miracle or story that was involved. And so I think this is probably the most accurate version of the story. But the story in general is an introduction to our discussion today about Muktzeh because of something that smells bad. So, the two brothers, the famed Rabbi Elimelech of Lizhensk and Rabbi Zusha of Anipoli, often wandered about together, posing as simple beggars. They would mingle with the masses, listening, teaching, speaking, helping and guiding whomever and whenever they could. I'm guessing that most of it was Jewish people. So once, while they were traveling with a group of vagabonds, members of the group were accused of being thieves, and so the whole group was enjailed. Rabbi Melech stood up to prepare himself to pray the afternoon service, and Rav Zusha asked him, "What are you doing?" "I'm getting ready for mincha," replied Rabbi Melech, and um, this blue thing is just like a highlight. But dear brother, advised Rabbi Zusha, it is forbidden to pray in this cell because there's a pail that serves as a toilet nearby, making the room unfit for prayer. And we did learn this when we were learning the laws of tefillah, of preparation for tefillah. Dejected, the holy Rabbi Elimelech sat down. Soon after, Elimelech began to cry. "Why are you crying?" said Rabbi Zusha. Is it because you are unable to pray?" Rabbi Elimelech answered affirmatively. "But why weep?" continued Rabbi Zusha. "Don't you know that the same God who commanded us to pray also commanded you not to pray when the room is unfit for prayer? By not praying in this room, you have achieved a connection with Hashem. True, it is not the connection that you had sought, yet if you truly want the divine connection, you would be happy that God has afforded you the opportunity to obey His law at this time, no matter what it is." "You are right," exclaimed Rabbi Elimelech, suddenly smiling. The feeling of dejection vanished from his heart and mind. Rabbi Elimelech took his brother's arm and began to dance from joy as a result of performing the mitzvah of not praying in an inappropriate place. The guards heard the commotion and came running, witnessing the two brothers dancing with their long beards and flowing tzitzis. The guards asked the other prisoners what had happened. "We have no idea," they answered, mystified. "Those two Jews were discussing the pail in the corner when all of a sudden they came to some happy conclusion and began to dance." "Is that right?" sneered the guards. "They're happy because of the pail, are they? We'll show them." And they promptly removed the pail from the cell. The holy brothers then prayed mincha undisturbed, and the version that I heard was that they danced even more because now they could have mincha, and their problem was solved by the fact that the guards had removed the pail, and they were able to daven. So it's very, very inspiring and reminding us of the halachot of tefillah, that we're not allowed to pray in such a place. But in terms of Shabbat specifically, the Talmud calls it GRAF shel re'i, a receptacle that contains excrement or something else that smells. In the old days there were cloth diapers, and I think that there was a special hamper not in the house until they were put in boiling hot water with chlorine or something like that. But today the toilet or other kinds of places that smell are included in this, and so let's learn the halachot concerning muktzeh. Even though a truly disgusting item such as graf shilari, a receptacle that contains excrement, a dead mouse, or food scraps, is muktzeh mechamat gufo, the sages permitted removing it for the sake of human dignity. They did not encumber in this removal by requiring that it be done with a shinui or minatzad, meaning with using the other hand, or just shoving it away with their foot or something like that. Rather, one may remove it directly. This is all on condition that the item is in a place where it is disturbing people. However, if it is in a place where it is not bothering anyone, it may not be moved. So if your garbage is always outside, and there's something that was supposed to go to the garbage or was done on Shabbat, and that's why it didn't make it into the garbage, then it should be moved. But if you're trying to move around the garbage outside, that is not permitted. The details of this law depend on how disgusting the item is and where it is located. And it's also very, very subjective. So some people might be disgusted by a tissue that wasn't thrown out, and they might even bodily react, like puking or something like that. And some others only if it's something that really, really smells bad, not only looks bad. So inside one's home, even if an item is only slightly dirty, such as a pot with food remnants, a cup with a little wine left over, or an oil lamp covered in soot, as long as it causes discomfort, it is considered a GRAF SHEL re'i and may be removed. This is also the case in a yard if people are sitting nearby. However, if there are no people nearby, one may not remove it. So again, if you want to sit on your deck and that's where the garbage is, then you're causing the problem by going and sitting there. Just choose a different place as opposed to removing the garbage to another spot. If there's excrement in the street or in a yard where people walk, since it is truly repulsive, it may be removed even if no one is sitting nearby. So if you walk on your spazier on Shabbos afternoon and you see that somebody did not collect after the dog, you are allowed to remove it. However, if it is in a backyard that almost no one walks through, removing it is forbidden. If there's a dead animal giving off a horrible stench, then even if no one walks by, it may be removed because the stench will even grow more and more as the flies nest in it. Even though shells and pits are muktzeh, one may clear them from the table with one's hands and throw them in the garbage. This may even be done in two steps, first piling them on the side of the table, then collecting them to deposit in the trash. And some say that this is the basis for permission to sweep on Shabbat. One who is cracking seeds with his mouth may remove each shell from his mouth by hand and either throw it away or pile it on a plate and then dispose of it later. So sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, which we call spits. We talked about borer, that you're not allowed to remove the bad from the good, but in this case, that's really the only way. So instead of using a utensil, we're using our teeth or our hands, and then you're allowed to put it on a plate and then remove the whole plate and pour it in the garbage or in the compost. However, he should not keep them in his hands in order to throw them out later. Similarly, one may empty out the refuse that accumulates in a sink strainer. A garbage can that has garbage in it is muktzeh. However, if it is unpleasant to have a full garbage can, it may be taken out on condition that there is an eruv. If one lives somewhere that has a dumpster as opposed to private garbage cans, the garbage pail may be emptied into the dumpster and then brought back inside. So in Israel now, instead of what we used to call frogs, tzfardeim, there is what's called mutman karka, where it's a gigantic container underground, and you put your bag in it. So in the larger cities, there is an eruv, and so that's not a problem. But again, you have to cover it immediately because otherwise the smell will bother other people and cause them to maybe Mechal Shabbat based because of your actions. So we'll stop here and open up for questions.